Hey everybody, my name is Brandon. Welcome back to Cinefessions, where we talk all things media. So I think all of us have that watch list, right? The list of films that we want to see. On top of that, we all have blind spots, big, huge movies that we should have seen, but for whatever reason, just haven't gotten around to them. Today, I want to kind of take that idea and go just a step further and talk about 12 movies that whenever they're brought up by friends or family, I get that slight tinge of embarrassment because I hadn't seen that movie yet. And these are films that, for whatever reason, I feel like I absolutely should have seen them, whether they're from a director that I love or a genre that I adore, whatever the case is. This today is a stack of 12 movies that whenever somebody asks me about them, I feel that little bit of embarrassment that I haven't gotten around to it. So in 2024, I am aiming to correct that and watch these 12, what I consider to be my most embarrassing blind spots. Please keep in mind, there are millions of other movies I haven't seen, plenty of big classic movies I haven't seen as well, but these today are the ones that first sprung to mind when I thought, you know what, which ones are ones that bother me the most that I haven't seen? Which movies do I look at on a list and say, no, I haven't seen that one, and then feel a little bit ashamed of myself? That's what we're talking about today. So though there are plenty of other bigger, probably better movies that should be on this list, these are the 12 I've decided to go with this time around for 2024. So let's do this. Before we get into the list though, if you guys have a quick second, go ahead and hit that like button down below if you like these types of videos. But with that said, let's not waste any more time at all. Let's dive right into the 12 films that I consider to be my most embarrassing blind spots. So I'll go through all 12 of these in release order. So just to kind of set expectations here, the oldest movie on this list today is from 1971, and the newest, which frankly there are quite a few that are a lot newer, is from just a few years ago now, 2021. So not a ton of classic cinema, not really any classic cinema on this, but that's just the way it's going to be this year around. But anyway, let's start off with the first pick today, and this is from a director who everything I've ever watched from him, I have absolutely adored. And so, one of the movies that I can't believe I haven't seen yet because it's a horror film, at least that's how I understand it to be, is Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange from 1971. I do have the 4K. Fortunately, I actually own all 12 of the movies I'm talking about today, so that saves me a little money, which is always good. But yeah, this is a movie, like I said, I have wanted to see this for the longest time. I remember renting this from Blockbuster. I put it on when I was in like high school. I think I was in high school. I put it on, the DVD on, and my mom happened to be in the room with me. And that opening scene, I remember that opening scene vividly, and I immediately turned it off because that was much too awkward. That was not going to happen. So I have not put it back on since. I did get the 4K at Disc Replay, I believe it was, with the slipcover, which is awesome. And so that's how I'm going to watch this one. Cannot wait to finally check this out. I don't know a ton about it other than that opening scene, which was pretty crazy. So looking forward to this one. This is Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange. Let's move over to a Richard Donner film from 1976, one that I frankly cannot believe I haven't seen yet. We have The Omen. I have owned the Omen collection from Scream Factory for the longest time now, a few years I think. And I've had this on DVD. I had this on Blu-ray for a very long time. There was a collection that came out many years ago that I owned. I actually sold that one off when I got the Scream Factory set. But all those years owning this, I've never watched it. Like, it's ridiculous. I love horror movies from this era. There's no reason I won't enjoy this. I think actually I've seen the remake. Maybe parts of the remake, maybe I've seen it, I don't remember, but I've not seen the original, and that has to be corrected. So, and it's a Richard Donner film. Like, why haven't I watched this movie? I have no idea, but really looking forward to checking this one out. So from 1976, directed by Richard Donner, The Omen. This next one is probably the director I'm least familiar with on this list, from John Avildsen. This is a movie that John over at PlatX2 is probably shaking his head if he's watching this, because this is, if not his favorite, one of his all-time favorites. But from 1976 also, this is Rocky. I don't know how I've never seen a Rocky film. Like, I feel like I had to actively work to not see a Rocky film over the years, but for whatever reason, it just hasn't happened. Yes, I know I've seen parts of these on TV, many years ago, probably the sequels as well, but never have I sat down and watched Rocky from start to finish. In 2024, that is going to change. I don't know if I'll get through the rest of the franchise here, but I'm at least watching the original. Hopefully, I'll love it and I can watch the rest of it. This is a shout out to John because I feel so embarrassed even admitting I haven't seen Rocky, but cannot wait to finally see this sports film that I've heard so many great things about over the years. It's entirely, I've heard the quotes, it's super quotable. So I'm finally going to watch Rocky from 1976. I totally didn't realize that 4 of these 12 films are from the 70s, which is pretty crazy, but it's a great era for film. So this one is actually one that I have on the Criterion Collection, and this is another director that I have been meaning to spend a lot more time with and just haven't. And so at this point, I want to watch through his filmography in order. And so in order to start that, I'd have to start with 1977's Eraserhead, directed by David Lynch. This is his debut feature that I have heard the weirdest things about over the years. Now, I frankly know very little about this. I don't even think I've ever read the synopsis on the back of this before, but I have all of Lynch's films from the Criterion Collection, and now it's a matter of trying to start watching through them. So kind of representative of David Lynch as a whole is going to be Eraserhead. I have seen Dune from David Lynch, arguably his worst film, according to most people. Not a great movie. I don't love it. But yeah, so hopefully this one will be a lot different than that, which I'm sure it will be. But yeah, looking forward to checking this one out. I know this has a very strong cult following behind it. Hopefully I will be one of those cultists after watching Eraserhead from 1977. All right, so at number 5, we are completely ditching the 80s and the 90s entirely because we have to talk about a film that arguably out of all of these on my list is probably my number 1 most embarrassing blind spot. I don't know how I haven't watched this. Actually, well, let me show what it is first. This is The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring from 2002. Another one of John over at PlatX2's favorites. But anyway, frankly, this is, millions of people's favorite movies, but I have never watched this. Now, admittedly, I did sit down back in the mid 2000s with my buddy. He put it on and I fell asleep maybe 15 minutes into it. And I woke up at the very end as the credits were rolling. I don't know. I was probably just tired at the time. I don't think it was the movie's fault. I'm sure hoping it wasn't the movie's fault, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, I need to watch this movie and I need to watch the entire trilogy and then I need to move over to The Hobbit. I think one of my goals 2-3 years ago, whatever it was watching the entirety of the Middle-earth saga, but I didn't do it. And so I'm hoping to correct that this year. I am so excited to watch this. I actually own the 4K releases of this. Where is it? Oh, I guess it's not up there anymore, but somewhere behind me here is the Blu-ray box set, which has the extended cuts and the theatrical cuts. And so I own this in a lot of different ways. Now it's just time to watch it. So looking forward to checking this one out. Probably, like I said, the most embarrassing film I haven't seen. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Just 2 days ago, my sister-in-law was talking to my wife and asked about something about Lord of the Rings and was just taken aback, completely shocked that I had not seen any of these films. It's she literally said, "How did you miss it? How did you not see these back in the 2000s?" And I have no idea. Much like with Rocky, I had to actively work to not see these, I feel like. But anyway, that's enough rambling. I'm watching The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, directed by Peter Jackson from 2002. This is actually the only animated film on this list, and I swapped this out for Interstellar by Christopher Nolan. I decided I wanted to add this one instead. This is from 2004, directed by Brad Bird, The Incredibles. And I know some of you are probably shocked that I haven't seen The Incredibles, but this is a film that I just have not gotten to with this awful cover on it. But yeah, so I own the sequel on 4K, so hopefully after I'm done with this, I will, watch the sequel. But I love superhero movies. I still love superhero movies, but I have ever since, before this one came out. And so I don't know how I've not gotten around to this. It's just a movie that looks like a lot of fun, looks like something I will absolutely love. Hopefully I will. So the only animated film on today's list is The Incredibles from 2004, directed by Brad Bird. You know, I did just say that The Lord of the Rings is probably my biggest, most embarrassing blind spot on this list, but frankly, this one is right up there as well. I don't know how I've missed this. From 2007, Spider-Man 3, directed by Sam Raimi. Now, I've seen the first one multiple times. I've seen the second one multiple times. I love those movies. For whatever reason, I never watched Spider-Man 3, and with all the hate it gets over the years, I just didn't really care to watch it for the longest time, but I need to correct that because I love the other two Sam Raimi films. Maybe there's something here that I will enjoy with Spider-Man 3. So I have the entire trilogy here on 4K that I picked up not last year, not 2023, but I guess it was 2022. So it's time to watch it, finally, after all these years. So Spider-Man 3 is going to be the next one on the list from 2007, directed by Sam Raimi. Here's another one that I have no idea how I didn't see this movie. This came out at a very busy time in my life as I was starting grad school, so I never got to the theater to see Avatar, directed by James Cameron from 2009, and now of course the sequel is already out on home media, so I need to pick that up. I want to grab both the original and the sequel on the newly released 4K because they both have Dolby Vision on them now, but this one is actually just a Blu-ray box set that came out many years ago, still sealed because that's how I roll. I have this one on 3D as well, which is so ridiculous that I own this in so many different ways, and yet I've not watched it, but that's the way of the collecting game, I guess. But yeah, this is supposed to be basically Pocahontas, the story of Pocahontas, but in this sci-fi fantasy setting. That could be 110% wrong, I don't know, but I remember that's what I heard about it back in the day. So yeah, I have to watch this. I don't know how I missed it, but Avatar from 2009, directed by James Cameron, is getting watched in 2024. I know I've said it 3 or 4 times now that was the most embarrassing, but personally for me, the movie that I am most ashamed about, frankly, it's these next two, but even more so than the next one is this one here. I don't know how I haven't seen this because it's part of one of my all-time favorite franchises ever, Planet of the Apes, but I still have not seen War for the Planet of the Apes from 2017, directed by Matt Reeves. Not the slightest idea how I missed this one all these years. I have seen everything leading up to it. Like I said, it's one of my favorite film franchises ever. The original set of films is so much fun. I absolutely adore it. For some reason, I haven't gotten to War for the Planet of the Apes, and of course the new one is coming out in 2024. I will watch this before that, and I will go see the new one in theaters with my buddy. That is absolutely going to happen. Mark my words. I'm finally going to watch this one this year. I don't know why it's taken me this long. War for the Planet of the Apes from 2017, directed by Matt Reeves. And the other one that I was referencing as a hugely embarrassing miss for me is another franchise I absolutely love. Frankly, I'd call it one of my favorite franchises of all time, whether it's movies, books, TV series, whatever it is. I love the Star Wars universe, yet I've not seen the entire sequel trilogy. I've only seen episode 7. So on the list today is Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, directed by Rian Johnson from 2017. Now, this, of course, I do own, but it's in the Skywalker Saga, that big 4K set, so I didn't want to pick it up because it's heavy and it's annoying to move, so that's staying over there, but I do own this one as well. Now, of course, this means I haven't seen Episode 9 either, so both of those I'm hoping to watch this year, but for this list specifically, Episode 8 is going on this list. Now, I know everybody and their grandmother hates the sequel trilogy. Of course, I don't mean that literally. There are fans of it, but this is one that I really enjoyed Episode 7, and so I don't know why I haven't watched the others yet, but I'm going to get to them this year. So looking forward to checking these out. Cannot wait to finally have finished this, and like I said, it's just most embarrassing because I genuinely consider Star Wars to be one of, if not my favorite, media franchises. How can I say that when I haven't watched all the films? It's pathetic. I've read more Star Wars books than I've seen Star Wars movies, I believe. That's ridiculous. So that is changing in 2024. So this next one here is Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, directed by Rian Johnson. Rian Johnson? Yes, from 2017. 2 more to go. So number 11 is again on this list because it's from probably what I would consider my favorite director of all time with Quentin Tarantino. Yet, I've not seen his latest film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is one that I have no idea how I haven't gotten to this yet, but like I said, I've watched and reviewed every single Tarantino film up until Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I have podcasts from back in the day on all of them. We did a whole arc on it. Love them. I absolutely love Tarantino as a director, his vision, his writing, the way he handles a camera. Amazing. One of my favorites, but for whatever reason, I just haven't watched this one yet. Some of these, I build them up in my head so much that it feels like an event to watch the movie, and I'm just not in the right place sometimes to make the event that I want to make it. And so because of that, I just don't end up watching them. Like, it's stupid, it's silly. I should have just watched this, you know, whatever, whenever, but I haven't done it. So now that event will be happening in 2024. Cannot wait. Own the novelization of this as well, which hopefully I can read this year too. That'd be great. But I love Tarantino. I have to see his latest, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, directed by Quentin Tarantino. And last but not least on the list today is going to be probably the least embarrassing of the dozen I'm talking about, but still one that, just given my love for this franchise, given my love for the genre, given my love for the main actor in this, like, how have I not seen Spiral from the Book of Saw from 2021, directed by Darren Lynn Bousman? So Chris Rock, Samuel L. Jackson, both in this, incredible actors. I love the Saw franchise. Speaking of movies where I have the entire franchise reviewed, I have podcasts for that as well, for the Saw franchise. Love them. I don't know how I haven't gotten to this one yet, but I will. You can see the Steelbook, which is one of the most gorgeous Steelbooks released in the last few years. I'm opening this bad boy up and I am watching it. And then, of course, after that, I will be watching Saw 10, because that I haven't watched yet either. So looking forward to this one. I know it kind of stands alone from what I understand from the rest of the Saw franchise, but that's totally fine by me. I have to see Spiral from the Book of Saw from 2021, directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, and that is going to wrap up all 12 of my most embarrassing blind spots. All right, so that is my priority stack of watches for 2024. And let me know which of these you think is the most embarrassing that I haven't seen yet. Now, let me be completely frank. Do I feel really any shame that I haven't watched these? For the most part, no. There are plenty of movies out there that all of us just haven't gotten around to for whatever reason. The two in this list that I am kind of genuinely ashamed of are the War for the Planet of the Apes and Star Wars Episode 8. I love those franchises. I don't know how I haven't seen them. Those are the only two where I'm like, man, that's pathetic. Like, you should have done better as a film lover. But outside of that, like, I don't really feel shame about not seeing these. They are films I absolutely want to see and should see. And so that's why they're on this list. It's just kind of a fun idea behind the whole thing. So, yeah, but let me know down in the comments below which of these you think is the quote-unquote most embarrassing. What is your most embarrassing blind spot from your list? And yeah, the whole idea of Cinefessions, just to kind of go on a tangent here at the end of this video, very few, if any, will know this, but I started off as a blog, right, on just like a WordPress blog, and then moved to the podcast, and then, of course, here we are with the channel, which entering my 5th year, so I just celebrated my 4th birthday here on YouTube, which is pretty crazy, but Cinefessions is a conglomeration, whatever, a combination of Confessions and Cinephile. So it's always Confessions of a Cinephile. And my idea was, because I have all these films that many people have seen and loved that I haven't seen, I want to tackle those. I want to attack those with no shame behind not seeing them. And so this video is kind of counter to that, but like I said, I don't really feel shame. It's just, it is what it is. It makes an interesting title to a video. But yeah, that's the whole idea behind Cinefessions, was Confessions of a Cinephile. And so that's why I kind of wanted to bring this up here, so that I could share with you guys some movies that, one, I plan to watch this year, and just some movies, big movies that I've missed for whatever reason. So anyway, if you guys did enjoy this video, go ahead and hit that like button down below. That engagement really does help me out. And like I always say, I don't just talk movies, I talk all things media. Books, movies, video games, graphic novels. If it's media related, I'm interested in it. And if you are too, you might consider subscribing. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for today. I just want to say thank you all so much for watching. And I want to encourage you to watch all of your blind spots. I'll catch you guys next time.